So let's talk about something that seems super simple on the surface, but the answer is actually really important. You're building an app in Flask, and you need to get some data from your Python code over to your HTML template. What's the best way to do it? It might sound like a minor detail, but as you'll see, the answer gets right to the heart of what it means to write professional, maintainable code.
Okay, so this whole thing kicks off with a post from a Reddit user, Zawari7. And you just gotta love the enthusiasm here, right? Flask equals amazing. I have so much fun. That's awesome. And it's exactly this kind of passion, this desire to do things the right way, that led them to ask a really good question about best practices.
So here's the situation Zawari7 found themselves in. It's a classic one. You've got your data in your Python view, and you need to pass it to your template using Flask's render template function. They came up with two different ways to do it, and, they wanted to know which one's actually better.
All right, so here are the two approaches they were looking at. On the one hand, you could just pass each variable one by one as a separate, named argument. Pretty straightforward. The other idea was to kind of bundle them all up into one thing, like a Python tuple, and then in the template, you just pull them out using their index number, like, give me the first item, give me the second item.
And this is the question that kicked everything off. What is most performant? And you know what? It's a totally fair question. It's what any good developer would think about. Which way is faster? Which one is more efficient? Their head was in the right place, thinking about performance, about the machine.
But, and this is where it gets really interesting, the community's response took a completely different turn. They basically said, you're asking the wrong question. They shifted the whole conversation away from the machine and onto something else entirely.
And this comment from another user, Vinyl Emulator, just nails it. They said, the performance impact will be negligible, so what you are solving for is readability. Boom. That's the whole thing in a nutshell. The speed difference is so small it doesn't even matter. The real challenge isn't making the code fast for the computer, it's making it clear for the next human who has to look at it.
And that one word, readability, changes everything. It becomes the new goal. In the world of professional software development, this is what you're really aiming for. Forget tiny performance gains. Your code is going to be read way more times than it's ever going to be written. So making it easy to understand for your teammates, and hey, for you in 6 months, that's the real win.
Just to put a final nail in the coffin of that original question, Vinyl Emulator doubles down. I would expect performance impact to be 0. So yeah, it's settled. This isn't about speed. It's all about clarity.
Okay, so if readability is our North Star, what's the verdict? Well, the community came together with a pretty clear answer, and interestingly, they suggested a third way to do it, an approach that's way better for this kind of structured data.
And wow, when you see it side by side, the difference is just night and day. Look at the left. var 0. What on earth is that? You have no idea. You have to go back to your Python code, find the tuple, count the elements. It's a pain. Now look at the right, person.name. It's beautiful. It tells you exactly what it is. The code explains itself.
And it's not just about being confusing. That indexed approach is incredibly fragile. Think about it. Let's say you have a tuple with name, email, and age. So 0 is the name, 1 is the email. Now, what happens 6 months later when someone on your team decides to add a user ID to the front of that tuple? Your template doesn't crash, it just silently breaks. Suddenly, 0 isn't the name anymore, it's the ID. 1 is now the name. Everything is shifted and you've got a huge, quiet bug. It's a total maintenance nightmare.
So, let's just lay it all out. If you've got a couple of totally separate, unrelated variables, yeah, passing them as individual arguments is fine. But that tuple approach, for anything where the data is related, it's bad for readability, bad for maintainability, it's just bad. The clear winner, hands down, is using a dictionary. It keeps your related data together and uses those descriptive keys to make everything crystal clear.
All right, so we've landed on the dictionary as the champion for related data. Let's actually lock this in as a best practice, a solid pattern you can just grab and use in your own projects. This pattern is actually so common and so useful, it has a name. It's called the context dictionary. The whole idea is simple. You just group all the data that your template needs into one main dictionary, which you very often just call context. And it's not just a Flask thing either. As someone in the thread pointed out, this is standard practice in big frameworks like Django too. It just keeps things neat and tidy.
So what does that look like? Exactly like this. If you've got a bunch of variables that are all about one thing, like a person's name, their age, their favorite color, don't have them floating around as separate variables. Group them together in a person dictionary. It just makes sense, logically, and it makes your template code a breeze to read.
But hang on, this doesn't mean you have to force everything into that one dictionary. That would be just as bad. If you have some other piece of data that's truly separate, like, I don't know, the current time of day or the moon phase, it makes total sense to just pass those as separate arguments. Remember, clarity is the goal, not blindly following a rule. So really, the best practice is a simple two-step rule. Step 1, for all your related data, group it up into a nice structured dictionary. Step 2, for anything that's genuinely on its own, just pass it as a separate keyword argument. That's it. You get the best of both worlds. Organization for your complex data and simplicity for your, well, simple data.
Okay, let's take a step back for a second. Because this whole conversation, this whole debate about passing variables, it's not really about Flask, is it? It's not even just about Python. It's about a much bigger, more fundamental principle of writing good software.
So, what's the big lesson here? What should you walk away with? First, and most importantly, you write code for other humans to read. The computer is secondary. And because of that, readability always beats chasing some tiny, probably non-existent performance gain. Using the right data structure, like a dictionary here, makes your code document itself. And look, at the end of the day, this isn't just about style points. Writing clear, maintainable code is what separates a hobbyist from a professional.
And, you know, maybe that user vinyl emulator put it best, if a little bluntly. They said, what we can agree on is that your version where you put variables into a list rather than a dictionary is horrible. Haha. It's harsh, but it's a great point. Some things in coding aren't just a matter of opinion. Some choices are just fundamentally better for building software that lasts. And using a dictionary instead of a list for structured data, that's one of them.
So that's what I want to leave you with. Take this idea, this principle of clarity over performance, and really look at your own code. Ask yourself, where am I making things fast for the computer, but hard for a human? And then ask, should I be? Thinking about that and really acting on it is going to make you a much better developer. Thanks for listening.